This is Tanoa Lynn Poirier, and I want to welcome you to Comm-Unity Conversations on WNN 95.3 FM and 1470 AM. This show is about you. I want to hear your trials and triumphs, challenges and victories, and how you overcome obstacles every day in our dynamic industry. All callers are welcome to join Community Conversations. This is where we'll discuss all things in common. We'll discuss managers, directors, vendors, and owners. Let's elevate the conversation. Raise the bar. Start here, now. Hey, welcome. Happy Friday. You did it. You made it. Congratulations. Congratulations to me. It has been quite a week. Let me start out by saying thank you to my staff. You all, under great difficult circumstances, pulled it out another week, and I couldn't do it without you, and I just want you to know how much I appreciate all your hard work. So, and to all of you who worked hard this week, thank you. If no one has said thank you, consider this your thank you and good job. Today we have got a treat. I want you to sit back and relax. You're going to learn something today. My guest today is Bram Botfeld. Mr. B to all of those who love him, and I think you're going to love him as well. Bram is an expert, regarded by many, certainly by me and everyone I know, in the area of physical security. He has over 38 years' experience. He has overseen over 4,000 trade shows and conventions, particularly arenas, sports arenas, political conventions, really big assemblies that required a lot of dedicated security officers to keep everyone in there safe. I know him in the community association industry, and he has certainly taught me a lot about what to expect in terms of vendor relations, what I should look for in contracts, how the board and the vendor and the management should interact. And I think that you are going to find this conversation interesting. He is remote today because he's traveling, but he graciously accepted the invitation to teach us all something today. So without further ado, please welcome Mr. B. Are you there, Mr. B?
I am indeed.
Hey.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction.
Oh, well, it pales in comparison to what I could have said, but it's a half-hour show. So when we have you here, we'll do a little more. You know how I feel about you. I'm thrilled that you're here. Say hello to the listeners.
To join you. I'm sorry?
Say hello to the listeners.
Hello, listeners.
So I'm going to just let you introduce yourself a little bit more, and then we had kind of a pre-interview, so you kind of know where I'm going with this. It's a half hour. But just tell us what you've been doing over the last, say, 5 years.
Well, as you know, I had entered an organization called Castle Guard, which is where you and I had originally met.
Yes.
Back in 2010, 2011.
Exactly.
It was a wonderful organization. We helped rebuild it, reshape it, reform it, and we walked away from that being very proud of our accomplishments.
As you should.
Thank you so much. I had just left the Bank Atlantic Center as its first director of security. Now it's called the BB&T Center. I then... From there, I did consulting for two groups over a 2-3 year time period. And then a gentleman who I had met originally as a consultant turned to me and said, would you be interested in working with me more directly? And I was very excited to work with David Krupe. And he began buying security companies, which is based on a 10-year plan. We're in it now a year and a half. So far, we have purchased two, and we're very proud as we unveil Triton Security on a national basis.
Woohoo!
Thank you. And we are specializing in, obviously, security officers, security staffing, and consulting as is needed. So that gives you a quick update as to what's been going on.
Well, that update lets the listeners know your qualifications, kind of what you're into now. But the fact that this company wanted you on board certainly speaks to how much your expertise is needed. And you're right, we met with Castle Guard when we were both with a local large property management company here. And you should be very, very proud of what you accomplished there. You really raised the bar on that. One of the things, if you would, I'd really like to get into, and we sort of talked about this in our pre-interview, is at the beginning of the relationship when a community is considering security companies. Let's say we just go through the bid process and we narrow it down to somebody that they're interested in, and before they go into contract, what should they consider? Including, and let's talk about the manager, vendor, and community manager relationship.
Okay. Number one, you want to meet with an organization where either locally or nationally, the organization has been in operation for at least 5 years. You are looking for not national talent, but local talent that is going to be coordinating the operation. It becomes a major key. Security companies, there are over 11,000 of them in the United States, and I'm just talking about guard services. I'm not talking about investigative agencies. I'm not talking about polygraph operations. I'm not talking about security schools. I can keep going, but I think the point is made. There are over 11,000 guard agencies.
Right.
Certainly there are big-time majors, and then there are very small, what they call the mom and pops, which is a one-person operation with one contract, and that's what they do. Well, at the end of the day, you're looking for local talent, as I began to say earlier, and that means that the manager has to be somebody who is professional and somebody who understands the nature of the guard business, not just security and security management, but the guard business. It's almost two different things. Again, you're looking for somebody with qualification. I'm not throwing my own out, to say, oh, gee, look at me. But again, in my case, you're looking at somebody with a security manager's license, a former security instructor license holder, crowd control manager, good Lord, private investigator, security agent itself.
Right. You're highly qualified.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And what you're looking for is someone locally who is the same way. And you want to be sure that the company that you are going to be contracting with is hopefully a believer in what we refer to as the boutique security philosophy.
Can you explain that, please?
It would be my pleasure. This is where you're removing all those obstacles which get in the way, and you are communicating directly with your client, and you're communicating with your client on a one-to-one basis, and you're not just doing it, once every quarter or something like that. Right. You're talking with them either on a weekly or at the very least on a monthly basis.
Indeed.
You're attending meetings regularly. You are creating a team effort working in concert with the HOA board, with the property manager. And, what you're trying to do is create a partnership, and that's what we like to refer to our clients as partners. And part of the process here, when you've entered the relationship with the security contractor, vendor, however you wish to term it, the very first thing that the security contractor has to do is get the designated security committee members from the HOA board, get the property manager, and sit together and define what is expected of security.
Okay.
So many.
Let's stick a pin there just for 1 second. Sorry to interrupt.
You got it.
And Bram's remote listeners, so we're doing our best not to step on each other, but I want to stick a pin in there because what you said is really important. I think we need to just hear this. Mr. B is suggesting that the property manager or the management company, or the on-site, if they are hired by the association, the board and the vendor need to meet and find some consensus and decide what the values of the community are and what you want them to do. And I will tell you what typically happens, and this is something that's going on in a couple of my communities right now. They think that you somehow divine the information and that the guards are supposed to just know what you want. The importance of post orders, and I'll let you talk about those. The importance of manager-vendor relationships after the contract is signed about how to work together. But in the beginning, we've got to get together and decide, what do you want, how do you want it, and when do you want it, correct?
Exactly.
So, for example, we're in after you've been awarded the contract, we're in a meeting, and the board members and or the manager may have not seen the post orders in a while or ever. And I think you will agree with me that that certainly happens.
Not only does it happen, unfortunately, sometimes you discover that there are no post orders at all.
Terrifying. That's really scary, because what we're relying on is the gate officers using their instincts and perhaps knowledge from other communities or best practices instead of understanding exactly the way the association wants it based on what the board has decided. A committee, if you're in a larger community, that has kind of ratified rules approved by the board that now go to the vendor in order to implement the policies of the community. And what we're saying, and I think you agree with me, is that many times that never happens, and it's just like, well, they should know what our rules are, as if they are, one, a community manager, two, has ever been to a board meeting that you say, or three, has anyone ever spoken to them? Do you find that that is more often than not the case?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
And what happens in many of these cases is the expectation, which has not been either defined or, more importantly, communicated, becomes this big letdown on the very first day of new operation. And then the comparisons, and, well, they did it this way. Why aren't you doing it this way?
Right.
Exactly.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it becomes kind of three-ring circus, which is one of the reasons why, as we suggest here, when you have those initial meetings between management, HOA designees from security committee, and the security vendor themselves, you begin to define exactly what it is you're looking for. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to live in Fort Knox. Right. Nobody wants to, to think that, the exterior is a prison operation. But you've got to have that qualified blend. Right. Something as simple as scenario training in advising security as to what you expect when you've got somebody who is now at the guest gate. They're not being let in. They refuse to now leave the gate, and they're blocking traffic.
Oh, that never happens.
No, of course not. But I think we've experienced this together once or twice. And, depending upon the association desire, you can stop traffic, tell the person, okay, that's fine, you sit there, we're calling the police, enjoy yourself, please wait. Right. That way they can not only give you a ticket, but at the same time you may get lucky and get towed. Right. Meantime, okay, everybody else, we're going to operate the resident gate now. It's going to be a little traffic block, sorry, and you run it just that way. There are so many different scenarios that come into play. You get a phone call sometimes from Mr. Jones, and Mr. Jones is complaining because you let my landscaper in. He showed up at my door, and he's cutting the grass, but you never asked me for approval. Okay, Mr. Jones, you're absolutely correct. We didn't. However, Mr. Green called, and Mr. Green allowed him in. He just happens to do your grass as well. Same thing happens with pizza delivery and a variety of other things.
That, and I want to stick a pin there as well, pardon me, because this is something that security officers get a really bad rap for, that they are not properly notifying the owners when someone shows up at their door with whom they have a relationship. They're not strangers. You've been expecting someone to come and clean your house, but you wanted to be called before they came in. The problem is they share vendors. They get referrals from who cleans your house or who does your windows or who is your landscaper. So they share these vendors. The vendor has 10 homes in the community with whom they're going to service. They come in at 9 and then they proceed to their clients. Well, most of the clients just understand the process, but someone will call and say, and they're not nice about it, right? They're condescending, they're abusive, they're difficult. How dare you let someone in? Now, the association can put a policy in place that the vendor has to go back to the gate every time before they go to a community, go to a home, but that's not practical.
No, of course not, nor are the vendors going to follow it.
No vendor's going to follow it. Exactly. So what we have to do is make sure we've communicated properly when something like that happens. And I just say, have them call the management office and I'll explain it to them. We're going to take a quick break. Mr. B, can you stick around?
Be my pleasure.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. See you on the other side. Hello, listeners. It's Chenoa Lynn from Community Conversations. Did you know I authored a book called 365 Tips for Community Association Managers, Property Managers, and Property Owners? Yep, I did. The book is filled with little, bite-sized morsels that may help anyone working and living in any community. From working with difficult people to building consensus for big projects. There is something in it for everyone. 365 Tips is available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. You can also go online to hellotanoa.com. That's hello, TANOA.com. Imagine having one place you can call for all your residential needs, whether it's housekeeping, repairs, remodeling, pet sitting, laundry, or anything else your heart desires. La Concierge Services is your answer. Our qualified staff is carefully chosen, experienced, licensed, and insured. They are prompt, professional, and courteous. La Concierge Services is honored to serve in South Florida's most exclusive communities. With La Concierge Services, you have a full-service, personal concierge. We would love the opportunity to earn your business. Call 561-819-2059 for more information. La Concierge Services, your personal concierge. Welcome back. This is Chenoa Lynn Poirier with Community Conversations. And I want to remind you that this show is about you. If you'd like to join the show, you can call us at 888-565-1470. Let's get back to the show. Welcome back, listeners, and thank you, Mr. B. Welcome back. One of the things that I'd like to touch on, and it may be a little controversial, but I think it's necessary, is in the area of security officer compensation. And I bring this up because we have to decide whether or not we value their contribution to the community. And if we do value their contribution, we should be prepared to compensate them adequately. And we're not even talking about a lot of money. But many times associations have a contract. They budget only the contract and no increase in cost of living, wage increases, or any other bonus structure for these guards who are there 365, 24/7 in many communities. Is this something that you want to weigh in on?
Well, we can look at this, from two ways. The outside looking in and then the inside looking out. And I mean that literally. From the outside looking in, you look at residents, boards, the whole 9 yards, and they say, okay, we entered a contract. We're in this contract. We're paying them to be here 24 hours a day. We're paying an awful lot of money. If somebody's going to give them more, then it's going to have to be the security company.
Yep.
If they're going to give bonuses, whatever. What a lot of people forget, and they themselves are in business, so it becomes surprising, is that the security agency is operating on a margin scale as well. Like so many different businesses, it's competitive. There's an awful lot of competition that is out there, and you have to get the best numbers that you possibly can to try and provide a living wage at the very least.
Right.
I can tell you that in the market between Miami-Dade, Broward, and West Palm Beach, but especially Miami-Dade and Broward, the average guard is getting between $8.50 and $9 an hour as an average. This, as you can imagine, is difficult. And what kind of incentive is this giving to somebody who's standing at your gatehouse, either A, to want to really do a good job, and or B, to really want to stay?
Exactly. Right. And I think that starting, that's probably a little better than minimum wage, but they have a huge responsibility. And it is one of the largest expenses for the homeowner associations. I get that. But at some point, you have to imagine that these folks, because the contract dictates the wages, associations want to do a good job of managing their budget, and so they very often go for the lowest bid. That doesn't necessarily net you the best service. But just say you've chosen a vendor, you have a contract in place, and you've negotiated the best possible deal for yourself and your association. But at some point, if you've had the same officers for 2, 3, 5 years, and they have received no compensation, additional compensation, everyone wants to feel validated and valued. And the only way to do that, and then we're not even talking a lot of money, we're talking 25 cents every year over the next however years, so that they get over $10 an hour, which is not a lot of money, goes a long way to letting these folks know that you value them, but also them valuing that community, knowing that the people there value their contribution. Don't you think that would work?
Yes, and it's very helpful. I don't know if it's going to keep people 3-5 years.
Right.
Okay, but I do know that it's going to give people the incentive and desire to want to stay. I hate to use the term like a dangling carrot, and I'll go back to the term incentive. But the whole idea is security, as it is looked at, okay, I'm in it, I'm going to stay in it for a while, I'm not going to get anything extra, blah, blah. By the time you're finished, okay, that's exactly what happens. We sit down with applicants, and we explain to them, number one, that we are going to try and offer them a better wage than is average in the area. And at our orientations, I would say that a good percentage of our staff agree. It is a better than average wage. Is it the best? I'm not going to say it is. What I'm going to say it is, it's an offering that's above what they're typically going to see. And they know that they are going to receive some type of compensation if we get contractual agreement to do COLA increases. One way or the other, we try to give them little incentives along the way, birthday cards, season greetings cards.
Yes.
At Thanksgiving, right. We give them a little pie.
Yeah.
And this is by no means small. Surveys in the security contractors group on LinkedIn are very, very specific. People will stay at a lower wage location if they feel that the company is taking better care of them and listening and communicating to them.
Yes.
Which is something that we're huge about. Because
they feel like they're a human being and not just a bot. They feel like they're recognized. You see them. Somebody who gets a birthday card from their employer, that goes a long way to saying, "Oh, well, you see me as a human being." Before
they feel they're being respected.
Yes, exactly. Before we sort of run out of time, if you would, I'd like to switch gears a little bit. And I'm talking to managers now, and I want you to weigh in. Managers, and myself included, have got to do a better job of communicating to the gate officers when there are changes in the management office. And the examples are if someone has been disciplined for whatever reason and their barcode has been deactivated, or if we know that somebody has made a request because their boyfriend is no longer allowed on the property and they changed their gate access or form, and we haven't communicated that to the gate officers, how do they know? Or if the rules have changed, there's a board meeting, and now the post orders, before they're officially updated, here's what's coming down the pike. Those kinds of things smooth the transition and limit the amount of abuse that the guard officers have to take, because the managers have not done a good enough job of communicating what's going on in the manager's office to the gate officers. Do you find that to be a problem?
Yes, I have in more than one instance.
Right.
And it really is so simple. These days, computer files are able to update automatically to the files which are located in the gatehouse computer many times. But one of the big areas where the failure to communicate exists is in the backup written files, the manual books, in the event you lose power.
Right.
And if those books are not updated, you've got some real serious trouble.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you being with me today. We've run out of time. You have to come back in person, and we're going to revisit all the other security issues. Mr. B, you are the man. Thank you, my friend.
As always, a pleasure. Take care, Denwa.
Bye. Listeners, thank you for joining me today. As always, it's my pleasure. Have a great weekend. Be a blessing to someone today. Bye. You have been listening to Community Conversations with Tanoa Lynn Poirier. It is my honor to host this program, and I appreciate you listening. We have an exciting show planned for you next week, so mark your calendars and join me every Friday at 5 p.m. on WNN 95.3 FM and 1470 AM. We look forward to hearing from you, our listeners. It's all about learning, sharing, and teaching. We're all in this together. Until next time, be a blessing to someone and endeavor to persevere.